Today we're going to make some wax invented by Marvin Nolte called 721C. The 721C means 7 parts rosin, 2 parts beeswax, and 1 part castor oil. They're just simply melted together and poured into a form. He originally invented this wax for full-dress salmon flies to help with thread avalanches around the head and to help stabilize things throughout the fly so one section doesn't influence another as much. But it's great wax generally. It's got a lot of grip to it, is the best way to put it. Just as rosin is used on the bow of a violin to increase the friction of the bow on the strings, so this wax works to increase friction on the thread. I also make a sticky version of this, great for dubbing, touch dubbing, etc., called 422C. Same idea, in this case 4 parts rosin, 2 parts beeswax, 2 parts castor oil. Both waxes work beautifully. This is my empty stainless steel pan where I'm going to melt my ingredients, sitting on a gram scale. It's best to weigh these ingredients because the beeswax comes in a chunk and it would be difficult to deal with volume-wise. As you can see, I've zeroed out the scale using the tare, T-A-R-E setting on my gram scale. This is the beeswax that I use. It's all natural and organic. I guess I would be stupefied if it wasn't organic. Maybe I'm missing something. One of the chunks weighs 30 grams. So I'll need to cut it, cut about 2/3 of it because I want to get to 20 grams with this. The beeswax is the 2 in the 721C, and I'm going to use 20 grams. And here I've cut the thing in a piece of about 2/3 and then added a couple slices to get right to 20 grams on my scale. There we are, 20 grams. I'm going to have ultimately 70 grams of rosin, 20 of beeswax, and 10 grams of castor oil. This is the rosin I use. This stuff is chunk rosin. It was all I could get at the time. The price was right, and the chunks haven't presented any problem at all. Initially, I was kind of crushing them into a powder, but now I don't even do that. This is what they look like. They melt just fine in this form. So there's another kind you can get, diamond, and it's already crushed up, and I would recommend that. But it was unavailable when I bought this. I've got another dish here that I've put rosin in little by little by little after zeroing out the scale, and I'm trying to get to exactly 70 grams of rosin. There we are, 70 grams of rosin, and that will represent the 7 in the 721C. I don't like having to do a lot of math and proportions. Okay, now I've combined the rosin and the beeswax. And sure enough, there it is, 90 grams. And that's what I want. And I've got them right now sitting in the stainless steel pan. And the next thing to add is this castor oil, which remarkably is also organic. And I'm going to use It's going to represent the 1 in the 721, and I'm going to use 10 grams of this. So what I've done is I've just squeezed some in there until I got to around 100 grams. It's 103. It's a little bit over. It'll still work. If this happens, you can also always sop up some of it with a paper towel. Here is the pan I'm going to use, and this is, I had a pan I liked much better, and I've misplaced it. Don't know where it is. So I bought this one, and it's a mini muffin pan, silicone, and I just don't like the shape of the indents quite as well as my original pan, which is this one right here. This one I like a lot. And I'm sure it'll turn up one of these days around this place. This has got semispherical indentations, and it just makes for an easier to use piece of wax when you're done. Here's my rig for melting all this on a gas stove. My gas stove is too hot, and if you let it go even on low, ultimately the pan will explode and burn down the kitchen, and we just don't want that. So I've got the inverted pizza pan trick to lower the heat. And this is what it looks like when you start out. And I've got the stove on low, and I want this to melt very slowly over a long period of time, at least 20 minutes. Here it is about 10 minutes in. Things are very slowly melting. And that way I don't have anything spontaneously combust and cause problems. I use a little stir stick to stir this stuff up with. There it is. It's actually one of those spears for kebabs on the grill. But you can use anything, and just keep stirring, and this is what it looks like when it's all melted. Here I've done my first pour, and I've only poured about half the pan, maybe a little over half, I don't know, but a little bit to get going. Over time, this stuff will cool as you're pouring it, and it makes it difficult to pour. So then I'll put it back on the stove and melt it some more. And here's the next little batch, finishing off everything in the pan. Now I've let the pan cool very much. In fact, I took it outside for a while. It's about 40 degrees out there today. I want this really cool before I try to pop any of the wax out. It comes out like a dream if it's cold. And you could even stick this in the freezer if you wanted to. And here's a piece popped out. And I think this is going to be a great batch. I do a very sticky version of this wax called 422C. 4 parts rosin, 2 parts beeswax, and 2 parts castor oil. Here's that cake I just popped out, and I think this wax is going to work beautifully. I love this stuff, and I use it all the time.